welcome to another edition of the Chamber Dialogue right here on the YouTube and Facebook channels of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications. It's a pleasure having you here. Today we're doing a very special topic in the month of March, the month where we receive the first budget of the new government. Yes, the 2025 budget. What is or what will be its implication for the telecommunications industry as well as the digital financial services? I mean, this particular program is brought to you by the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications and the EMI's Chamber of Ghana. Now, as we are all aware, as two of the most formalized sectors or industries within our economies will be the telecom space as well as the digital financial services space, which leads to them being taxed a lot of time by governments within the developing space of our world. So today we are going to review the 2025 budget. Some of the reviews that were done in the budget, some of the introductions, some of the takeaways in terms of taxes, and find out how they would impact us as players in the sector, as customers who patronize the services and goods of our members, and also for the economy in general. So I have three gentlemen in the studio with me. We are going to take a very short break. When we return, we'll introduce them and then start the conversation.
I now want our children to use the internet to learn. No, we be farmers, doctors, lawyers, fishers, traders in a market kahun. Na ye pede friends and loved ones who bonkomu fondo without any interruptions.
Ow, yes, ow. A stable service netuma send them mobile money na come our parents to fear.
JT Trot Room or pedosha Chelsea vs Man City game without missing a moment.
Era mana, onoze nenywa jido bo receive mobile money payments every the customers ho. On pay delay so. Eboze love talks in quoting or po. Obotuma kasa till he sleeps on the phone.
Eyumunyina is made possible because of the red, white, and grey telecommunication towers are our hen communities munti. Them telecommunication towers are yes safe or ho to the benefit of Obiara our community nimo. We are here, the Yabobwa. In case of any emergency biara, and now you see a theft going on, for the Ghana Police Service on 191 and now 18555, Ebotunsa for 0209 222220 and 0242 435629 and now 30 for assistance. So, welcome the telecommunication towers into the approved locations in your neighborhoods so that you can keep connecting to the people and things you love. Message Ghana Institution of Engineering and the Radiation Protection Institute and a YN DOS.
Hello, welcome back to the Chamber Dialogue. Like we said, new government, a new finance minister, and the very first budget of this administration. What will be the impact on the telecommunications and the digital financial services ecosystem? I have three gentlemen. The first on my left is Mr. Gordon Dade, partner at leading accounting and advisory firm KPMG, and also in the middle, CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications and the EMI's Chamber of Ghana engineer, Dr. Kenneth Ashigwe, and last but not the least, Mr. Francis Timor, tax lead at MTN. So, to jump into it, March, we received the first budget of the new finance minister. Prior to that, a lot of commentary within the space about whether or not there will be new taxes, some taxes are going to go. What was different for you with respect to the 2025 budget when compared to the previous budget we had seen? Anyone can start now.
For me, I think the budget was a bit unique because looking at the financial pressures which we were under, you would think that the government will introduce some new taxes. We didn't see that coming. And rather, they kept some of the promises that they made during the campaign. Yeah. So for me, that was very good. It was a bold decision. And again, they seem to have dragged the repeal process a bit faster. Last time we heard the Deputy Minister of Finance was saying that they intend to make it effective 1st April, which we're hoping that the president will assent to. So
that's a repeal of the e-levy?
Of the taxes that they promised, the e-levy, the betting taxes. So for me, I think it's quite good for businesses, because we got to a point where you realize that businesses were complaining too much, and so that looks good for me.
Okay, Ken, your thoughts?
First, let me say a big thank you to KPMG. KPMG has been faithful to this conversation about taxation when it comes into the industry, and Gordon has been a great partner, and thanks to Timothy as well. He is part of the chamber, so he's here, like I am here. Yes, so I agree with Timo. For me, again, as somebody who is a watcher of governance, one of the concerns I have had, and it's something that I was hoping to write an article about, research and write an article about, is the conversion of campaign promises into policies, translating into budgets and actual expenditures. And one of the things you saw in this budget is a lot of the things that had been promised, you saw them being converted into intentions, into policies and allocations made. We all know that it is said that allocation is not actual, the actual action. But I think this is a positive one, and it just tells you that at least there was a lot of thought that went into the manifesto, and a lot of thought that went into now the translation. Again, considering the fact that the government came in just in 7th of January, and then the budget came in March, really not too much time. But so it just tells you that there's been some work that had been done before it. And again, as Francis said, we were expecting these tax cuts, and they had happened, because for us as an industry, you know that for every 1 cedi that comes in, about 42 pesos goes back in the form of taxes, fees, and levies. And so when all of that was done, well, it was good. The only challenge is that when it came to COVID, it was deferred to a conversation that's going to happen. So that bit about it. And again, for me as well, I had been advocating from the moral side that the cost of betting to us as a country, so I was not one of the people who advocated for the repeal of the betting tax, purely from a moral side, thinking that it cost us more, in encouraging a lot more people to go into betting than that. But apart from that, I think it was a very innovative budget. Some of the things that the minister did with the uncapping and all of that, those were very innovative that we saw.
Yeah, so I also want to say thank you to our wonderful viewers and everyone online. But to also say that this budget so far has been well received by the business and individuals as well. As Francis and Engineer has all said, if you look at the campaign season, both parties had some taxes that they wanted to waive when they come to power. And we in KPMG did what we call a pre-budget survey. So before the budget, we do a survey to understand what businesses are looking for, what they expect to see in the budget. And it's interesting to know that of about 230 people that we surveyed, about 50% of them were expecting to see some taxes to go out, like the e-levy, like the COVID levy, the one that the minister calls WUSIE tax, the emission taxes. People expected, and about 34% were asking questions as to how government intend to close the gap. And when you look at this particular budget, there were clear allocations to specific sectors of the economy. And for the first time, the budget was very simple and easy to read in terms of even the number of pages you have to go to, because the minister said they've allowed the other sectors to do their own presentations in parliament. So for the first time, you see a smaller budget, people can identify it so easily and all that. So we expect that, behind every good strategy, like a budget, is proper implementation. And we expect that when it comes to implementation, government will put in the effort to make sure that whatever they plan, they will achieve it for the year.
Now, going into the campaign season, the election season, we did a lot of advocacy here. Met with the presidential candidates for both parties, and even shared our manifestos with all the other parties as well, in terms of reforms we're looking for to support the industry. Now, for you, Ken, were there some fears you were picking up, from the grapevine that you were concerned with, that hopefully did not materialize?
Yes. So, after having these conversations with His Excellency the current president and then the then vice president. There were a lot of assurances that were given, and both of them were clear in their minds where they were going to block the gaps, So we're expecting E-learning to go, we're expecting COVID to go. But the interesting thing is that, we're having these conversations with the Honorable Minister for Communications, and they had their first cabinet meeting, and the feedback we got was that the cabinet meeting the conversations was a tough one, because what they had come to inherit was worse than they had seen. So there was a bit of a worry again about how, the promise was there was not going to be any new taxes coming, but then just before then we're having, some conversations about, they were going to introduce a new thing. I remember I was in Barcelona and I was scrambling, to be able to get the Minister of Finance to meet the executive committee of the chamber to be sure that there was no surprises. But then, if you've done this job as long as I have done, me and Timo have been in these, tax conversations, the people you can call, and I was getting assurances that nothing new was going to happen, and then, but you never know till the end. And we started rallying even PEF, so I started having conversations with the Ghana Bankers Association, with the Ghana Chamber of Mines to really figure out, to make sure that nothing new was going to happen. And so, yes, so the assurances I kept getting when I went back to my sources that nothing like that, was going to happen. I then had to come back to the executive committee and say, I'm pretty sure the only things that we're thinking is going to happen is what is going to happen, and let's wait till it happens. And I think, and the minister himself had also said that he couldn't, because of the time was short, was not going to meet us, but there was no surprises coming. And so at that point, you also wanted to believe what he was saying. That's an honorable man. And, so lo and behold, the only surprise it did was that it was a COVID levy, but even that, he gave a justification and a reason why. And again, interestingly, if you went onto their website, they had talked about the VAT review. It's even on the website, even before the budget was read. So there's been some consistency with the conversations that have been had.
Now, I'm sure for you, during the campaign period, talk about repeal of some levies and the likes. The question Ken was asking, and a lot of watchers were also asking, how are you going to plug the hole? I'm sure. You were going to bed thinking, how are they going to do that as well?
You're right. We were all worried because if you take one tax handle out, you need to replace or find a way. But what got us some assurance was that we were going to expand the tax net, something that over the years we have not been able. And so for me, it was very innovative to hear that he was going to pursue non-tax revenue, something which we have known for a very long time. So we wait to see. He promised that he's coming up with a new regulation to come and deal with that one. Fantastic. Let's have it. Let's analyze it and see how we go about it.
Okay.
E-levy wasn't surprising because during his vetting, he even said, from the I don't know whether you remember, the very first budget they introduced, you and I think you were sitting there.
Yeah.
We had a discussion. Fred, the Minister for Communications, speak about it. So possibly they're going to come, and then boom, it came.
It just came.
We have not been too happy with it because we're pursuing digitalization. And I asked myself, if you go to where Visa is coming from, Visa, they don't tax Visa payment. So it's really didn't fit into any of the tax handles that we have. But government had the power to pass law, so we saw it. And just like Ken was saying, so maybe Ken, we have to continue on. The suspension of the COVID levy, to me, reading through the lines, is a bit, sketchy because possibly IMF may not want them to take it off. And I've heard some other comments. If you put it together, it appears to me that they may want to retain it. So, because look, if you want to make it, or you want to revert back to what it was in August 2018, where businesses could take, deduction for it, that's fine, you can do that. But you want to abolish it. For me, if you want to abolish it, the decision is clear. Abolish it and let's move.
Okay.
Then you make the End Heal and Get Fund a deductible input so that people can, claim it. So leaving it and say, okay, I want to wait for another discussion appears to me that maybe they will change the name.
I want to come to that for you to even break down the implications of the levy and if it is removed, impact on capex and also opex. But I don't know if you want to chip into that or if you want to touch on some of the big things that caught your eye within the budget. I know we've spoken about the A-levy, but there are other big things that caught your eye that you're like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, so yes, just to add to what Timo has said. So in terms of the taxes, the minister has been out front to say that we want to reform the VAT space, come mid-year. And that is very important because if you look at the VAT that we operate now, we have a semblance of a sales tax and also VAT, and if you look at our rate, not competitive at all, and that's why people will not want to pay. You are talking about a rate of 21.9, almost 22%.
For us, even if you add our CST to it,
it's 24.8.
And when you look at our rates in Nigeria, they are just doing about 7.5.
So the South region, our competitiveness, is
and these are taxes that are going to the average consumer. And so if you have a population that few people are working, unemployment is very high and taxes are very high, consumption tax is very high, the guy has very little to spend. The little that comes to him, he's paying more taxes on it. So definitely it's an area that we need to go back and do the restructuring. But going to the budget, one thing that caught my attention again is government resolved to rationalize expenditure. So you see that for this particular budget, if you compare 2024 actual to 2025 budget, there is a reduction of about 4% in expenses.
That's almost unprecedented.
Well, yes, because you want to make sure that you reduce expenditure and get more revenue.
Yes.
Now, if you look at government revenue, also targets, also gone up about 20%. Now, one is asking why, if you've cut E-levy and you've also cut some of these taxes, how will you get the revenue? If you read the budget, government is saying that we are going to enforce more compliance. We are going to make sure that the modified taxation for the SME sector will be revamped.
But not to catch you, we've usually heard about enhancing compliance, widening the tax net, and all of that. Yeah. And as my boss said, sometimes implementation is where the meat is.
Yeah. So if you look at the compliance, they said they want to do tax education. They want to educate more people about their taxes to ensure that they comply. The other one too is that they want to use technology. So technology they want to use, for example, for the small business to use USSD. Even to pay their taxes online.
That'll be interesting.
And I think if you do this, so for example, if you look at today, people travel a lot. Yeah. There are people who travel like maybe 10 times in a year, but they may not have been paying taxes. Can we just go to immigration and say, give me data on these people? People who travel for the year. Maybe the guy has gone 10 times in a year. Just ask this person, where are you getting the money? Where are you funding these travels? And with some technology, you can do that. You just leverage the platform of immigration to GRA, and then you can do that. People import so many things to the country. How are we leveraging the data from customs to ICOM? From ICOMs to the GRA platform, the other platform where you have direct access.
Yes.
So that if you import maybe 100 million Ghana cedi stock of goods into the country, and when we are checking your account, that 100 million is not there. Who did you sell to? If we track you and we see the next 10 people behind your sales, we should be able to determine the revenue for the next 10. So then that shows. So technology again will play a long way. A good role in getting us.
So in addition to technology, obviously we need like a retooling of maybe some of our institutions to be able to carry out.
Definitely, we need to. The institution must communicate. So you can't have a customs unit that has a system that is not communicating with the direct tax system.
Okay.
They must communicate so that whatever you bring into the country, the revenue will be sitting in your Guinness platform, and then we can see everything there.
It's more so for the eye industry. Any other big things that caught your eye outside of the E-levy, repeal as well as the COVID levy? Anything that caught your eye?
No, I think the betting tax is something that for me. Currently they play on the main mode of payment is mobile money.
Yes.
So hopefully that is also likely to generate some revenue for us, even though the moral aspect is there, of course. But in terms of revenue, I was thinking that we could have maintained it because when we introduced betting in 2015, it came as an investment income. And here they call themselves investor. So we could have reduced the rate actually, maybe 2%, because if you compare the numbers, the money we get from betting is more than Roto. 2023, just for 6 months, we raised around 51 million Ghana cedis. Then 2024, we got around 57 million cedis. Average collection for Road 2, of course, that was the manual system. Average collection was 78 million. So close to twice how much we make it, but I think they promised, so they wanted to deliver. So I'm okay because it will expand the ecosystem of the fintech industry.
Okay. Now, so we've brought the e-levy to the fore, and now some people are saying that the e-levy should not, should not be repealed. Maybe the rate reduced to zero, and all of that. So we're going to do a quick break. When we return, we'll now focus on the e-levy. Okay. Its impact, whether or not it will come at a later date when maybe the ecosystem in terms of digital payment has blown up to or matured to the level we all want, or whether it should not come back again, like you cited with the countries that are using Visa. So we're going to return. We'll just focus entirely on the e-levy and bring you some insights on that. Stay with us.
Hey. Thank you. Hey, someone just withdrew money from my account.
Account? What account? Facebook?
Look, let's be serious. My mobile money account. Someone just withdrew money.
Are you sure?
I just got a notification.
Are you sure you don't ask anyone to do so?
No, I didn't send anyone to do that.
Hey, sir, you relax and check. Well, okay.
Telco has stolen my money. Let me call them.
Oh, Telco cannot just steal your money just like that. Okay. I mean, are you sure you did not buy anything online and you use mobile money to pay?
I didn't buy anything.
Okay, fine. How about subscribing for a service that requires mobile money deduction?
Which service in Ghana will cost you 2,000 cedis?
2,000 Ghana cedis?
Which hotel could they
In
stole?
fact, this one, let's make the police case.
Hotel go first.
Yes, fine. But before that, are you sure you're the only one who knows your account details?
Boss,
No, I'm talking about your mobile money PIN.
I am the only one. Who will?
Relax, take your time.
Hey God, I've been careless.
What is it?
A week ago, there's this errand boy that comes around. So he was running an errand for a colleague, and I sent him with my phone and my PIN to withdraw money from me. It was an emergency.
So you trust a stranger that much to give him your PIN?
I needed help.
You needed help. What kind of help?
He didn't do it that day.
Of course. If you had done it that day, it would have been so obvious. If you were a thief, would you have done it that day?
So what do I do now?
Change your mobile money PIN to prevent further deduction.
Hey God, 2,000 cedis.
So you have 2,000 cedis in your account, and we don't even have common Ghana rice in this house. Be smart. Do not be a victim of mobile money fraud.
Alright. So first of all, look at the. Hello, welcome back to the Chamber Dialogue. Interesting conversations around taxation, the 2025 budget, and its impact on the telecommunications industry. I mean, if you're watching us now, hopefully you're on your phone, you are definitely consuming telecommunication service, and it permeates every aspect of our lives. The foundational argument is that in developing economies, you find that governments would usually like the tax sectors such as telecommunications and digital finance because it's more formalized and it's easy to, tax them. But is it correct? Does it, enable the industry to grow? There are people who argue that no, it doesn't, and we at the Chamber actually also believe that it doesn't. So the e-levy, in the first part of the conversation, it being repealed, was hailed by a lot of people. But what will be the impact of the e-levy being repealed on industry, on you as a customer, and the entire ecosystem? Looking at the amount that it was bringing in. So I don't know who wants to take a stab at this. First of all, the repeal of the e-levy. What will be the impact on industry, the ordinary customer, and then the economy as a whole?
So for me, it's obvious. The customer is going to benefit a lot. Honestly, the basis for charging the levy was very expensive. Okay. We had, especially those who travel a lot and do business. I've heard people who say that when they start their initiation and they realize the e-levy they were paying, it's better they walk to the bank.
I mean, mention the rate, for example.
1%. I mean, if I'm, and you know, you didn't have a cap.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm transferring 50,000 to mine, and you're going to take 1%.
Yes.
Compared to the transport that you have to take to, I mean, it was completely off. So obviously, people are going to jump onto the system. It got to a point people were saying that yes, the levy did not discourage people, but that was for the average people who could afford. So maybe the busy working class who have already paid taxes on and they were compliant. So the real people we wanted to target, they were off. And if you study the data structure, you realize that the flow was rather from the formal sector to the informal sector. Immediately it gets to the informal sector, they were going withdraw and cash out. Then they put the pocket in, they put the cash in their pocket. So we missed the people we really wanted to tax. So for me, it's a good thing. Digitalization is going to come back. I mean, we will expect people to jump onto the system and transact more. For businesses, yes, it's going to be good because we expect some increase in revenue, and which at the end of the day, we're still going to pay tax at 30%. Remember, our corporate tax is 25%, and growth and sustainability levy is 5%. But the place I have a little bit, sketchy for me is this delay in the reform. Would it be possible that the guys want to bring back the VAT on financial services? Maybe it's something we need to watch. That's why we have to still engage. And we're going to clean up the whole gains that we have made.
Absolutely. So, again, your thoughts on
So I think that e-levy was a poorly thought of tax. It was a discriminatory tax against those at the bottom of the pyramid. Timo was talking about the situation where you are going to transfer that 50,000. If you wrote a check for that 50,000, you are not going to pay any levy at all. So it was also, apart from the fact that you were doing that transaction, but there were alternate channels that were available that did not attract the taxes. The interesting thing again, if you did a differential, a double differential of the taxes, as in the rate of growth, that's where you actually see the impact. We were really flying, and the tax then came to dip that. And though there was some recovery when we did a reduction from 1.5 to 1, you realize that still we did not get that. And another thing that meant is that there was a lot of investment dollars that left this country. There were a lot of these fintechs, they were into deals that almost were going to be closed. Then the whole e-levy came, and you found out that those monies went into other places. So that's also another bit about it. What is also going to happen is that with the consumer now left with a lot more money, you're going to find that a lot more of that cash is going to come onto these digital rails. And it will also offer the tax man, it will offer all of us the conversation that Gordon was talking about being able to find out where the money is flowing, so that you're using data to be able to do the other taxes. One of the benefits that e-levy brought was that it brought a lot of the merchants into the tax net. And it was not just the e-levy, but it was the exemption. And so a lot more of this is going to happen. And for us as a chamber, is one of the conversations we've had with GRA is where these data that sets that are around, how do we use that to take the decision of actually expanding the tax net? So we're hoping that once we have those conversations, and then the government does not come back and now come and slap taxation of financial services to defeat the thing, then we will be able to really deepen this. I don't know whether you all saw it. There's e-Okada in the budget as well, and it will be interesting to get the details out of that. One of the one of the proposals that we from the chamber had was, for example, to say that we know that Okada has all of its challenges, but like Rwanda, the only way you pay for your Okada in Rwanda is digital means. So if you did it in such a way that all Okada people are only taking digital money, then if anything happens, it's easy to also put even insurance on it, on the process. And then it's easy to identify the rider. It's easy to identify the person who also rode on it. And then you can use that to formalize that Okada thing, make it a lot more less risky, get insurances for the pillion person who would ride and all of that. So I think that the impact of withdrawing these taxes and the knowledge we got out of that is something that is going to help. And again, the point you made, I would have thought, again, I was of the school of thought that maybe what we should have done was just to have set it to zero. Not really completely repeal it, but set it to zero. Wow. And then get to a point where you now can decide where to tax, how to tax, how to use it within the digital means.
You mean the data?
So that, no, not the data, but the e-levy. So now you could do the e-levy in such a way that you could have, for a personal wallet, like if you go to other markets, you could have your wallet. Your wallet, part of it is your private wallet. So for the mechanic, for the mason, if you're sending him money, which is just his private, it goes into another one. But if I was paying him for a service I have rendered, then I pay it into that particular one. And then the tax will not be on the transfer I had made. It will be on the income that is generated. So that we then can use that into actually taxing those who are not in the tax net. So we need to really think together with industry to find out how we can use that to, again, I don't like the word informal. Those who are doing business in the real sector that we are not taxing. But if we now decided that in this country all payments are going to be digital, then you can find that, get that data, and be able to make sure that they also pay, instead of your 25% CIT you're talking about, all of us, can be doing 5% CIT, and you find out that a lot more people would then pay the CIT, and we might not even need to go to the IMF for anybody for peanuts.
Peanuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the impact?
Yes. So when you look at the e-levy, I mean, it's a tax that I would call a tax with a behavioral consequence, because people can do different things to avoid that tax. So if I have to transfer, for example, 20,000 cedis at the bank, and I know I'll trigger the tax, I'll just write a check. And it was also stifling transactions, because if I feel that if I do an online transaction, that will go very quick, but because when I do it, I'll have to pay tax, I'll wait. And that takes a long time. It's delaying businesses, affecting efficiency and all that. I believe that as the tax is being taken off, we'll see a lot of efficiency in the system. That should spare productivity. That's one side. The other one is, increased transactions. We are going to see a lot of transactions now, because people who, for some time, when they exceed the threshold, they will not transact. Today they want to transact. When they transact, what is going to happen is that you are going to have data on them. And with the right data, as engineer said, with the right data, if they are businesses, with time, we can now use that data to make policy on them. The other one is, we are trying to promote a cashless economy. And you bring a tax that is making you go to spend money to hold cash. So I think taking that tax out also promote that agenda. Then of course, we are also going to get data of people who are playing on the e-commerce space. So today, if you go to Instagram, if you go to all the platforms that people are selling, you see people who do this decoration and all that, they take their payments online. How is the revenue authority getting these guys into the tax net? I believe that with e-levy, taking out the e-levy, having the data on these guys, we'll be able to get them and then tax them in the other side. Now, even for the MNOs, once the levy has gone out, what's going to happen when the transactions go up and you have more revenue? You are still going to pay more tax to government.
Yes.
So when the rate was reduced from 1.5 to 1, you realize that the thing just went up like that, and that will impact revenue to be taxed. The profit before tax, that will go to government. So I believe that as the tax has been taken up, we are going to see an increase in transactions. That will definitely boost the tax revenue that will go to government.
Okay. Now, on the point about possibly, holding on, and then when the market matures to a certain level, we tax it. Some naysayers will say that regardless of how much the market is matured, the minute you actually introduce some level of financial burden on a digital transaction, people will find a way to escape.
No, so I think like Neil said, he said it was not really a well thought out tax. And I think if we want to even tax digital transactions, we have to be able to segregate people who are earning real income from people who are just transferring income they earn. Because when you look at taxes, one person's income is another person's expenditure. But this is the case where I have earned income and I'm just sending 200 to my brother or 1,000 to my brother, and you ask me to pay tax on that. But if I'm paying my mechanic or I'm paying somebody who has earned income, that person must pay. So the e-levy was not entirely bad, but the point is the fact that the people that were being taxed, we have a mix of people who are just earning income, and they earn income and are just maybe distributing the income, and you have to pay tax on that income. But against others who are now earning income and must pay. So we need to now take our time, look at how to bring these guys into the bracket, and then use the e-levy in future to tax them. So that's why engineer was saying that is it possible to have zero the rate? But again, if you repeal it and you want to come in again, it's almost like a zero. When you come in future, you can bring the rate again and then tax them.
Okay. Now I know Francis since the beginning of this conversation has been sounding a bit worried about the VAT reforms that have been captured in the budget. Explain what the concerns are and what will be the impact if anything close to tax on financial services is actually brought into the realm. Would it wash back all the benefits that the e-levies, relocation, would have had?
For me, the VAT reform is a good thing. That I remember in 2021, I did some article publication that said that let's revert what we did in August 2018. So I'm for it. The only bold decision that the government could not take was the decision to abolish the COVID-19. So because if you read what they provided in the budget, they said they want to reform that will lead to abolishment of the So I was asking myself, okay, if you want to abolish it, then do it now. Just like we've done the COVID, the e-levy. Then let's move. Then when you finish with the reform, then you come and make the separation, take it back, and then let it be a deductible input tax. Then you can provide some relief on their OPEX and then the CAPEX. But the way you left it hanging, and listening to the way they are talking about health, potentially they will say, okay, we are changing it to Adinawawa one level, and then they will use it to raise money for Adinawawa, which something I like it because hospitals, fantastic projects, you understand. So he give them room,
or Mahama Care,
or something, you understand, or even the kidney dialysis. These are good projects, but it's like you want to abolish it and then later you come back and say, okay, I don't want to abolish it again, I want to change it and then use it. So the straight levy, if they revert it, good, is going to create breathing space for business. See, the consumption tax, the principle is that businesses don't consume. We buy the raw materials, convert it, and then give it to consumers to pay. But the way we have structured the current system, like Gordon was saying, it looks like sales tax and VAT combined, and it is cascading at every point of the chain. When you issue invoice, the 6%. So even have not added anything, because of that, the 6% is going to get stuck with you, and this becomes cost. If you buy CAPEX, so for me, when I read and said they want to reverse that decision, that is fantastic. We hope to see it. They should finish it and then we'll see.
So if you got a chance to sit with the finance minister, main budget has been read, media budget might be coming up, what would be your advice when it comes to this particular?
No, for the straight levy, we should have done it from day one. We just have to reverse it. Let the businesses get a deduction for it. The levy should not behave like a sales tax, and again allowing it to operate like the VAT principle. Every chain there is a levy attached to it. Let's do that. COVID-19, if I get my chance, I'll ask them to abolish it. But if they come up with other convincing reasons, like let's say we want to, earmark it for kidney disease, I'm for it, because that's a crisis on the nation. And you go to some other countries, if you are suffering from kidney, don't pay for it. But in Ghana, you see people who don't have money in there. It's disheartening. If I pay 1% to support such a fund, it's nothing. But they were not bold enough to tell us that they want to take it off.
On the VAT reforms. So I particularly I'm really looking out for governments increasing the threshold for VAT registration. And why am I saying it? Today we are saying that from 2013 to now, the threshold for registering for VAT is about 200,000. It's 200,000 cedis if you look at the law since 2013. Our CD has depreciated from that time to today. That 200,000 today is about 1.5 million Ghana cedi. So if you have And
Wait,
for,
so 200,000 Ghana cedis is $13,000 today.
easy.
Even at the exchange rate,
Yes.
15.
Yes.
15.
Yeah. So if you check, it's about 1.5 million Ghana cedi. If you want to look at it
From that,
from that, this is the equivalent.
The actual value.
The actual value at that time, you know, because the CD was about 1:3 or so,
Yes,
and then
yes.
today, so if you do that math,
Yes.
you have 1.5 million Ghana cedi. So we should be looking at the VAT threshold going there. What does it mean? It means that small businesses will not be saddled with the requirement of complying with VAT. It means that our brothers and sisters who buy from the tabletop businesses will not be charged, will not be paying VAT, and that brings a lot of room for them. So the small income that they have the space to consume. If you make the rate very low, the rate very low, 200,000, everybody is registering. Again, even compliance effort by GRA is a problem for GRA. So I want to see government moving beyond 200,000, going to about even 2 million, 1.5 or 1 million cedis, maybe if they want to be a bit conservative. The other issue is what Francis said in terms of going back to the input-output scenario and then moving away from all these. Look, one VAT regime, we file about 7 returns every month. Every month you file about 7 returns. You file the VAT return, you file the levies return, you file, if you are into your sector, you file the CST. I mean, you file that one. The real estate people file their own. You have imported service VAT. Different type of returns.
Tourism people.
Different returns for VAT.
A lot of filing.
So why can't we, reform this sector and have maybe one or two returns we file, and then reduce the compliance burden? And again, going back to the input output means that people will incur expenditure, and they will not pass it on duty to the consumer, because what we have today, if you are not going to be able to recover the 5%, the natural cost is, okay, let me increase my cost and let it go to the consumer. And we want to move away from it. We want to give, you see, the economy is not growing. We are not getting the money that we need to develop the economy. So we should create a space for people to, the little that they have, they can spend. If you don't create that room for people, then you are taking the life from them.
So for me, I think it's more or less like a balancing act. The government obviously wants to give breathing space for small businesses and other businesses to grow, but also wants to generate revenue. On your point about moving the threshold, would the government be able to get enough businesses at that level to be able to rake in the revenue it actually needs?
Definitely. Look, if you ask yourself, how much was a shirt 2013 today? The same shirt you were buying. So things have changed. So even for let me move away even from VAT. Even when you look at corporate taxes, we have something called withholding taxes. We had a threshold of 2,000 cedis from 2016 up to today. That if the transaction annual, it's not even annual transaction is 2,000 cedis. Don't today you pay for the little thing is 2,000 cedis.
That's true.
So all those ones must change. So that's why I feel that the VAT threshold must move from where it is today and must go up. It does not mean government is going to lose revenue. It means that you are going to focus on the right people and tax them. And also we are still giving some life to the people who are there, who should not be saddled with going to pay taxes when they are buying little things by the roadside and all that. If you go to a mechanic who is a bit structured, and then because he's making some little revenue, he's now charging you VAT. But there is some total guy who still want to get some. So we need to give some room for people.
And just to add, let me give you some statistics. This is by the African Tax Administrator Forum. We did 36 countries. Ghana is the least performing in terms of VAT. Ghana 2021 we did 18% of VAT to our total tax revenue. 2022 we did 18%. Let me give you Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is doing 34%. In Burkina. Wow. You go to Togo. Togo is doing 42%. Wow. Now you take which other country? Chad. The people with
you massacred them.
Chad, where is Chad? Chad is doing better than us. Gabon is doing 23%. So the structure we have, Tanzania is doing 28%, Uganda 31%.
We are way behind.
18%.
18 out of the 36 countries. According to the African Tax Administrator Forum, we are the least if you look at the mix of our total revenue. So, and it's because we have mixed it with sales tax, VAT. So at the end of the day, you think that in terms of monetary or nominal value, you think you are collecting more, but you are really, really decreasing. And that is why I am happy that we need to do that reform. Other than that, we think we are doing better, but we are the worst out of the 36 countries we have in Africa. it is not. We don't deserve that position.
Absolutely. We should perform it like the Black Stars.
Better, exactly. So certainly we need a reform.
Absolutely. Any idea as to when that reform is coming?
No, so some of it was what we are talking about. Like Gordon said, the threshold needs to move. For me, I don't know why we are still maintaining 3%. You go to Abosokan, the Abosokan people are crying. They said you are selling with 3% flash rate. He is selling at 22 point something %. So if you go, which one will you buy? Is it not the 3%? No, the guys are selling the same thing. It's causing too much trouble. That is why the GRA was doing the policing. Because when you go to ask you, brother, do you want VAT invoice or you don't want VAT invoice?
Yeah.
So I can sell to you without VAT, and because everything is cash, not Momo, everything is cash, you will not find it. How are you going to, unless you use magic, you can't find it. So it's created so much avoidance in the system, and it's not helpful. So we really need to revise it. At least 36 countries. We should be
up there. I mean,
top
5.
This is Ghana.
Yeah, the Star of Africa.
This is Ghana.
Yeah. And then just to add on again to say, look, when you talk about VAT, the other aspect is the digitalization aspect that they need to focus on. So GRA started doing this e-invoicing, thing, trying to bring taxpayers on a platform where they are able to track all their sales and everything. But we have not really seen a lot of progress on that. And I believe that as we look at the reforms, if we feel that e-invoicing is not the way to go, we passed a law some time ago, we call the EPOS. Is that where we want to go? If that's not the way, we need to come and then say, what should we do to be able to track businesses and get the taxes that they are collecting? Because when the GRA did some exercise, before the e-invoicing was rolled out, they did what they call the VAT invigilation exercise. And they deployed their guys to go and sit at shops and started doing their own accounting and looking at how much people are charging. And if you look at the report, sometimes they said that some taxpayers, their VAT returns went up by about 300% for one particular month. Wow. So why is it that we are not paying more attention to that area? And I want to see that in this reform that they are going to do, we should see some digital introductions. Either we continue the e-invoicing thing that we started, make sure that we onboard everybody, and then we track and see what everybody is charging in this country, and everybody pay, because the people are charging and they are not paying. Or sometimes you go to school and say, do you want the VAT invoice or you don't want it? And people say, I don't want it because they don't want to pay more money. But if it's digitalized, you don't have an option. And then you can also introduce some form of lottery which you don't want to do. But if you go and buy other countries, if you buy something and you have the VAT invoice and you scan, that can enter a raffle and you can win. So people
innovative ways of
the Deputy Minister of Finance made that sense. They've done it. Portugal did that. And VAT shot up. The reason is that if you collect VAT invoice, of course there are risks, because currently we have not rolled out the e-VAT system, so people can generate fake VAT invoice. But if you're able to take control of that angle, when you are buying anything, you say, I want my VAT, then you put it in a drawer. We know the serial numbers. You can win a car, you can win anything without paying for anything at all, because you've already bought and consumed the item. So I was for that proposal that the minister
using the carrot approach to get
exactly. But we need to be careful. We need to put some structures in place. For example, what receipts are we going to allow into a drawer? But currently everything is manual.
But you see, the interesting thing that the technology has moved. We've got to the point now, even blockchain and all of that. So the more secure way in which you can get this digitalization done. And then also some basic platforms are being created. Issues around your Ghana card and all of that are being done in such a way that all of these traders, now you can find a way of tracking when the product came to the port, who got it, who sold it, who, and all of that. So we just need to use a lot more technology. Deploy the technology to be able to lead all of these things. And again, these are the reasons why we need to be moving away from the 2Gs and make sure we're getting the 4G. Because see, we won't even in my village in Chama, for example, on that particular platform, that person who is selling woven kente and is selling it, it has to be done digitally in such a way that even at that particular point, he is able to do the VAT and get all the deductions and get all those tax filing and all of those things that easily. Speaking ever, to the device, and the device, getting with the ability of AI and all of that, getting all of that translated. And so, you see, what mobile money did was that people did not change the way they did their things. It's the same thing we should want to be able to do with these technologies. So you do that, and people like Mr. Dade and Co, you can have e-source even auditing, e-source tax compliances, and they are doing it, and these people are behind doing it for the people, and their life does not really have to change the way they live their life. So technology is going to be the way of doing it. It is the reason why you don't then start burdening the technology upfront, but you want to make sure that the technology can go, roll it out, and get everybody to actually use it. It would mean a bit of investment at some point. That's where my pain is when it comes to a 4-year thing. So you find out that the politician, is not patient enough to want to take decisions that would go beyond. Yeah. Today, I'm happy that we just came from the Ghana Institute of Engineering, and the Minister for Roads is talking about the road tolls and hoping that they're going to put something in that is the best in Africa, that is very digitally driven and is more forward looking. And all of these platforms, in doing them, we should make sure that they are not siloed, because again, the data you collect from all of that, you need to feed all of that into it. Because if you do road tolls at this stage, if the road at a particular point has less traffic, you should be able to charge people lower, in such a way that you move the traffic onto those particular times, so people will travel rather at that time. It's the same way that Timor and his team will do when you're using their services at midnight. That's why they say Najoega. At that particular point, there's no traffic on it. You pay small. So we need to be able to bring this thing into everything that they do. It is the reason again that our industry should be seen as that workhorse, an enabler. So when you start seeing and thinking that let's come and kill them and collect the money, then you will kill these rails on which all these other things would have to work.
So in addition to that, I was actually going to come to you. What other, if you got a chance to sit with the finance minister and the team ahead of the media budget, are there other proposals that you think they need to consider to either reduce the burden on the space?
So again, you need to. So if you look into the tax, the budget statement, if you look at paragraph 476, it talks about the whole conversation around the Independent Tax Appeals Board. You have challenges when a GRA would come again in our industry that they come and do several audits, and you want that appeals board to work properly. So when an issue happens, you can go there and get, and that's important. One of the things that we would want to say, that as a country we should be pushing for a lot of investments coming in. The changes we make, constantly making, tomorrow e-levy has come, taxes are changing, predictability is an important thing for the investor, for everybody else. So it's one of the things that we want to talk to the minister and say, let's look at it. Another critical conversation I would wish we could bring back is the tax dialogues that we used to have. Yeah. So you will see the likes of Gordon, you see myself, Timor, all of us sit down before the mid-year, after the budget is read, we would dialogue. You get, the KPMGs and all of that will bring a lot of ideas, and we, the players, would also bring, and then we help make sure that these conversations are had. You don't have the situation where you get surprised like the way the e-levy was planned and all of that. It won't happen because we have debated it, and so that's also a very important element that has to happen. And I am hoping that the minister will do that.
You see, currently the mining companies are fighting and having some banter with the minister. In Ghana, we think that our policymakers believe that when they engage, they will be stopped, which is completely different. So many unintended consequences happen. Now the growth and sustainability levy on the mining sector, they said they don't agree why it is 3%.
Yes.
Now they've gone back to engage. So why didn't we engage them for them to buy it? One policy which I think received the most compliance in this country is the upfront VAT at the port. Why? Because it was suggested by the Guta people.
So private sector,
they themselves brought it, and because they brought it, the thing is biting them, but they can't speak because one was here. So let the people bring out their ideas and implement it, and it will go.
So bringing it back to our industry, I mean, we've always called for reforms, and the various ministries that actually have oversight on us have opened their doors to us. So more dialogue, like you're saying, is needed so that private sector can make proposals, and if they do make the proposals, they will end up actually.
And you know what? If I was a minister, when you bring your proposal, these are the problems we have. This is the hole we have.
Yeah.
How do we fill it? So allow them to go and make the suggestions. And then they come. When they come with the suggestions, they can't fight you back because they brought it. That is how it's supposed to be. But we only hear of it after the budget has been read. Then surprises.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that 2-3 days to the budget, then we are anticipating what is coming? It's never done in UK. UK, when they were about to implement tax on plastic, 1 year, they have thrown out the idea that this is what cabinet is going to do. What do you think? Then they solicit for stakeholders' suggestion. At the end of the day, government says, okay, we have listened to everybody. We are moving ahead. This is the middle ground. Everybody is aware. But in our case, we don't do that.
So I think in terms of the dialogues, look, it's important. Government needs to continue to, dialoguing with businesses to ensure that, whatever policy they are bringing, the people are aware. And if you look at the push out of this Minister of Finance that we have, even before the budget was read, he's had a number of conversations. So he was on Twitter listening to the youth, talking to them, trying to get ideas into the budget.
He went to the market,
spoke to the people. After the budget, I was very worried because the day he read the budget, that same day he was on TV. FM. The next day he was on another TV station. The next day. So he's been doing a lot of that. And I think for the mining sector, he actually met them.
Yes.
He met them the day before the budget was read.
Around 5 p.m.
But perhaps I think that we need to see more of such dialogues. Discuss more. Get the private sector involved, get the practitioners involved, and hear our voice and see what can we do to make our country better in terms of the taxes, in terms of making it, and even for your sector. If you look at the budget, there is something on the National Coders Program.
Yes.
Government is looking at,
1 million coders,
and then they put about 100 million Ghana cedi on it. Government is looking at increasing that to about 268 million in about 2028. How do you guys come together in your sector?
We're actually going to support.
Come with the program, it's something that you can go to government and say, you want to do this, but most of the time, people have ideas, want to do a particular thing. But it's when we all come together and we discuss, then we fine-tune the ideas and make it better. Because at the end of the day, to come to us, and then we need to make it better.
So we're actually going to jump to that. So I'll just let you maybe speak about some of the programs, proposals in the budget that we feel as an industry will impact us and require government to engage us to.
So again, just from where government left of the whole issue about the 1 million coders project, a bit more detail into how all of that is going to be done. And for me, I think it was mentioned about the allocations that were done this year. So you look at the big push, you look at the 24-hour economy, the digital jobs. All of these are things that we can work together with government to do. But government needs to realize the fact that as a government, public sector is not efficient in delivering some of these things. So one of the things that proposals that we would have for government is that if you take, for example, the 1% that we pay to GIFIC, government would be able to get, if let's say currently it was 100 million, that 100 million, if you put that amount down and say, as government, I want to extend, maybe take off 2G completely. So make sure that because too costly, I have 4G in this particular areas. I want you MTN, your portion. I want you ATC, your portion. AT, your portion. It is supposed to deliver me this ABC. And you give it to them. You will be able to push them. They can double that for you. Because the money you are supposed to have paid for you, let them use that for a particular project. And in doing that, you will find out that you would rather get a lot more. Another conversation is that this whole issue about getting, dealing with our usage that, for example, if instead of government using a pool to say, come here and come and do it, if government decided that for every chips compound, for every unit committee, there is data of this amount of gig that every month is done, you will find out that the tower companies will go into those spaces, the MNOs will go into those spaces. As you do that, you are digitizing that space, you are creating value in that space. So you look at the issues about the digital jobs initiative. Open that up and get industry to get a buy-in into it and see. So if you decide that you are bringing investment and you say that they should match that investment with a particular amount in what they do in all of that, you would be able to create a better thing, you know. So government knows what it wants to do, it has the values in it, but instead of collecting the money to want to do it, let the people do it, you know. Let the people. So you take you know, a KPMG for example, you know, with all the work they've done in AI and all of these areas, let them bring that resource in to wanting to build the AI people for you, instead of saying KPMG should bring that money in. So KPMG might be giving you a value of $1 million or $2 million, but so they will spend less than that because they are efficient in doing that, and they will also be using resources that they're using already. So these are the ways in which government should do it. It has to be a collaborative thing. So when we talk about the PPP thing, it should not be about a PPP when they say bring your money in. It's to say we as government, we have this procurement we have that we can do. You as, you know, private sector, there is this idea that you have, we all bring it together. The only thing is that a very transparent way in which we can monitor. So when you private sector said you're supposed to be delivering this, we are sure that that is being delivered, and then we can use the efficiency, effectiveness of you know, the public sector, and also the guarantees with which government will bring, and we will be able to deliver that. So I am happy with all the initiatives that have happened, and the good thing is that we have now a minister who is also very listening, who would engage in all of that. So we're hoping to deepen that engagement with the Minister of Communications and all, and be able to ensure that these various things. I'm just praying that, you know, those 1 million coders, we're not going to see a effect where they say mandate has changed and they want to now say we should pay more to go and do that. They should rather want to use our resources to deliver that, our expertise to deliver that, rather than that. You know, at the chamber, we've been doing this coding caravan, for example. We do that with not really a lot of resources, but a lot more efficiency using our people and all of that. We can do that. Another project we have, Seat for Ladies in STEM, where we're trying to make sure we get a lot more ladies in STEM. So all of these things are things, and I'm sure various sectors also have things that they can bring together, harness all of that together, and I'm pretty sure that the objective, the mandate that His Excellency the President has for him, you know, has for the country, we will be able to do that when all of us put our shoulders to the wheel.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, and these proposals have actually been made in meetings with the sector minister as well as other key stakeholders. So, I mean, if they are watching, I mean, the industry is ready to collaborate to deliver on some of the promises they have made, you know, in the budget. So before we wrap up, I don't know if you have any final remarks, especially if there's something you did not see and now you're like, you know what, it definitely has to show up in the media budget later this year.
So education, the minister said they want to hammer on
Education.
We have the largest platform.
Yes, we can even do rental for people. In Ghana, I don't know who doesn't have honestly.
Everybody does.
Everybody has. Double. So let's collaborate them more. If you really want to embark on compliance, our members, the telco chambers and the EMIs, we have connected almost everybody in Ghana, whether through finance or through phones. Let's collaborate to ensure that everybody pay their fair share. The last time we had some discussion with the GRA, and we're coming out with some strategies. Today, almost everybody who is in the city is online transacting. We have the data. We can collaborate, and government have power to access that data. Let's collaborate legally so that we can legally enforce tax compliance for everybody to pay their fair share. That would be my comment.
Okay.
I believe that, you know, government priorities in this budget, you know, some will say quite ambitious, you know, even like the expenditure aspect. And what I want to see is how governments will work hard to implement all these great ideas. And so implementation is very important. And how do we close the tax gaps? The government has said that they are looking at bringing the tax refund account, making it about 2% down, and then creating more room and moving some money to the fund so that they can have some money to for other activities. I want to see more traction in terms of implementation, because without implementation, it will just be a plan. A plan will never take us forward, but if we implement the good ideas with the plan, I think it will do well.
So traction and implementation, and again,
well, I think that basically it is to say that His Excellency the President has been in the wilderness for 8 years. He's come to power. He does not have to any other position again but this 4 years. It's a time for leaders. And so what we need to do, all of us as businesses, as government, come together to make sure that we are able to execute the things that are in the plan. But effectiveness is going to be important. We need to cut out the waste. We need to ensure that we're distributing the waste equally. So for our industry, for example, to be able to pay 40-something odd % of everything that comes to fees, taxes and all of that is not the way to go. So we would hope that the various entities that we work with, the NCA, the GFX, the EPAs, the various people who also levy us. Because you see, for us, it's not just the taxes. The fees, the charges are also important. Let's see how we all can work together to ensure that we are able to provide the rails, both the financial rails and the connectivity rails, to ensure that Ghana is better for it. Technology is going to be a major enabler. To be able to do that, we need to find ways in which we can bring growth back into our sector. We want to be able to ensure that we don't have only one dominant player, but that others are also vibrant. We also make sure that in the mobile money space, we are seeing a lot of growth in that particular space. So we as an industry, we are ready to work with government to make sure that the agenda that they've set for themselves really happens.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Can Engineer Dr. Ashimi, the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications and the EMI Chamber of Ghana, and to my left, Mr. Gordon Dade, partner at a leading accounting and audit as well as advisory firm KPMG, and Mr. Francis Timobo, tax lead at MTN. And the message is clear: leverage innovation to widen the tax nets, collaborate with industry to educate the public on on taxation in general, and also to enforce compliance, traction in terms of implementation, and then cutting out the waste and distributing the weight when it comes to taxation equally, so that industries such as the telecommunications and the digital financial spaces are not overly burdened, but rather are used and leveraged to achieve widespread economic growth. So thank you so much. Another edition of the Chamber Dialogue. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. And if you want to watch it again, yes, go on to the YouTube and Facebook channels of the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, and you'll find the wonderful insights shared today by this wonderful gentleman. We'll catch you another time with another edition of the Chamber Dialogue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlie. Next time you should bring women into the panel.
Did you remember to send the email to the client?
Charlie, the network day down. It did so since the weekend, so I don't know if you do anything.
I figured it was just me. That's what is happening to our network.
I called the customer care the weekend where they talk me say they get some small problems, so they solve them up to now.
Problem, and they've still not fixed it.
I shock say.
I got some part before TELECOM, make a call. Okay.
Hey Roland.
Hi Charlotte, how are you doing?
I'm good, Charlie, your side.
Charlie, normal vibes, but Charlie, the network has been down all weekend. I need internet to work. What is happening?
Charlie, the weekend has been crazy. There was a fiber cut and it affected the whole area.
What? Fiber cuts? Which one to that?
Oh, it simply means a fiber cable is torn. So fiber cables will provide service to you. So a torn fiber cable means interruption in service.
But then how then do you lay cables for them to easily get to?
Bro, we dig the ground and lay them there.
So what happened?
So usually construction workers break them without knowing. You know, those that construct the roads, fuel stations, galamsey operators and the like. In fact, anything that digs deep has a tendency of breaking a fiber cable. Even bush burning can destroy fiber cables, you know. But you know what? Don't worry. Our engineers have found where the break is and they're almost done working on it.
I see. So how soon should we expect it back up?
Oh, give us maximum 2 to 3 hours and you'll be sorted.
All right then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Well, I mean, now we know the problem, so before wait.
Okay, that means we have to wait for like 2 hours. Take us go on a break, go get something to chop. I'm tired.
I mean, if I get home, time for go.